to Let's Get Growing, and it's Jo here from Bulwell Forest Garden, and we are in mid-November, and so the days are getting a lot shorter. It's getting dark by about 4 o'clock. It's getting a bit cooler, but it is still quite mild for the time of year, and we haven't had a first proper frost really yet. We've still got tomatoes growing in polytunnel here. So let's start with this week's packs. So to start with, we've got a sage plant. So these are from some cuttings that we took not very long ago. And so it's a herb, it's a hardy perennial, it's evergreen, and so it's quite a good plant to have at this time of year. We've already done, I think we've already done a thyme and a rosemary plant, so I thought we'd have something different. So the first thing I'm going to do is have an examination of my little plant, see how it's doing, and it's filled its pot. So I'm going to repot it. I'm going to pot it on into a bigger pot. And sage grows quite quickly, so I'm going to put it into a nice deep pot. And I think I'm just going to tease these out just gently, because it's not really pot bound, just to encourage it to grow into its new pot. I'll put my plant in the middle, my compost around it, and then put the label back in so you know what you're growing. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just pinch out the tip of it. I'm just going to use my finger and thumb, pinch out the growing tip. And the reason I'm doing that is to try and encourage the plant to bush outwards so it doesn't just grow tall and leggy. So that's the sage plant done. They're quite hardy, so you could put this outside. I'm going to put it on in here, so just mainly so I can keep an eye on it. And then next in your pack, you should have a little packet of wildflower seeds. So this mix, it's a nice mix. It's British wildflowers, and it's especially attractive to wildlife, and it's an RHS plant of garden merit, I think it is, so because it's so good for wildlife. So these will flower next summer. So I'm just going to put them in. You haven't got loads, so you could just use a little. I've got a little sort of fruit punnet with holes in the bottom. So I'm just going to put my compost in, open up my pack. And I'll put them into the palm of my left hand because I'm right-handed, and then I'm just going to scatter with my fingers and thumbs. You probably could do a bit of a bigger tray than this because there's quite a few seeds in here. So this will be really good to help the bees and other insects for next year. I'm going to cover it up lightly. Definitely put a label in these so I know what they are, and then I'm going to water them with a fine rose so I don't wash the seeds out, and that's it. And they could grow outside if you want them to, or you could put them somewhere where you can keep an eye on them. They don't want to be too warm though. And then finally we've got a few more bulbs, so you should have 5 tulip bulbs, obviously to flower next spring. So it'll give us something to look forward to. So I am going to put these in a deepish pot. I've got 5 bulbs. I'm going to plant them all in here, and I'm going to actually reuse. This is what my lemon basil was in, but it's died back now because of the cold. So I'm going to reuse this compost because bulbs don't actually need loads and loads of nutrition, because all of their energy is stored within here. So they need to be about 3 times their own depth. So if we look at that, that's 1, 2, 3. So we're going to do them quite deep, sort of sitting about here in the pot. So I'm going to just spread them out. So I'll take a bit of compost out and you can see what I'm doing. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's often good to plant in odd numbers because it looks more natural. Okay, and then I'm just going to cover them up So I just want a label on there so I know what they are and I don't disturb them. And I think I would probably, so these will go outside, and I would probably put a bit of netting or chicken wire to keep out the pesky squirrels who will just come and dig them up. Okay, and then I'm just going to have a quick look at what we did last week. Well, not last week, last time. And we sowed some broad beans, and here they are. They're doing okay. Something's been actually nibbling at them a little bit. Let's just have a look, see if we can see the culprit. No, I can't. But I think they'll be okay. But I'm not going to do anything with them. I probably will put them into all together into a big pot, but I think I'll do that next time because they're not fully opened up yet. And my sweet peas, they've germinated, and so they're in the toilet roll tube. So they're doing well because you can see the roots at the base. But I think I'm going to leave these till next time, and I'll put these all in a bigger pot together. And then we did our hardy annuals, which are doing really well. So that was my clary bouquet, cornflower and California poppy. So they're fine. The other thing that I did want to give some attention, so this is my hollyhock. Let's take it out. It's in this pot here. It's a little bit dry. It's got some dead leaves on it. Whoops. That'll happen in a minute. So first thing I'm going to do with this is just take off some of these leaves that are dying back. Won't do it any harm, it'll stimulate a bit of new growth. So this is a biannual. I'm going to take that one off as well because it's a bit eaten. It's a biannual for flowering next year. So I am going to, I'll have a look and I'll show you, but I'm pretty sure this needs to go into a bigger pot. And yeah, you can see it's totally filled this pot up. So I'm going to go for this nice big pot, and I think I'll put some of my radish here. They've finished. There's a few small ones that might be edible there. Yeah, but they're not going to get any bigger now. So I'm going to reuse that compost in the bottom of here. And then with this, because it is quite pot bound, it's really dry actually, I'm going to tease it out a little bit. Hollyhock in the middle, and then just more compost around the sides, and I've still got the label in there, and then a water, and that's fine. Should lamp away. The only thing with hollyhocks in pots is they can be quite susceptible to rust, so we'll just have to keep an eye out for that. Okay, that just needs water. So still think lots of things to grow. You could be planting garlic if you've got some ground, and Japanese onion sets. You could be putting broad beans direct into the ground. There is some varieties of peas you could be sowing, and some hardy lettuce if you've got any. You might need a bit of protection for that, a bit of fleece. So another top tip I probably would recommend is that you don't be too tidy. A lot of people's urge is to rush and tidy up the garden, but you know, it's good to leave some seed heads for the birds. It's good to leave some fallen leaves because a lot of bumblebees and solitary bees will be hibernating underneath your leaves. So yeah, get out in your garden, enjoy the good weather when we get it, but you know, try and resist that temptation to be too tidy, and you'll be a better wildlife gardener as a result. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Happy gardening, happy growing.